Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man who told me earlier that he went to the liquor store and the clerk asked him if he needed help, and he said, "Yeah, I just decided to come here instead." It's Dale.
That is where you get help, ain't it? By the bottle.
Yeah, you get a little bit of help there, I guess.
I need to get me a jar of liquor.
Yeah, I need some help, please. It's back there on aisle 1.
Yeah, how much help you need? Half a gallon?
A fifth of help?
Yeah, a fifth of help. That always helps. It helps something anyway.
That's right.
Don't help a headache, but it helps something.
It'll help. What's
Help
going
you
on,
get a
dude?
Oh, same old, man. It's getting cold enough for you, ain't it?
It's a little bit cool out there.
You like this mess?
Yeah, I like it cool.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I dig it.
Have to go out there and crank the damn car up every morning.
Yeah, scrape the ice off the windshield.
Yeah. Living down by the creek don't help nothing.
No, it don't. But we in here doing another episode, man.
I'm ready.
This will be episode 140.
What?
Yeah, this will be episode 140 we're doing.
Man, we're getting up there, ain't we?
Yeah, we're rocking them out.
We teetering. We got to hurry. People catching up.
Yeah.
So these people getting there and just grinding them out. We're like, we got to talk faster.
Yeah, they're doing 2 and 3 a week, and we're just doing 1 a week.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think quality over quantity. How about that?
That's right. Because we try our best to put out a quality product for you guys.
So we try.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Seems to be all right. You guys like it.
Yeah.
Some of you anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got how about a shout out for Empress Luger on Instagram.
Empress Luger.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's very cool.
She posted today from her Spotify Wrapped. She posted her top 5 podcast, and we came in at number 2.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes the number 2 ain't the greatest thing, but we'll take a number 2 in a minute.
Yeah. Number 2 is always good when you get a number 2.
Yeah, when you have to take a number 2. Anyway, I also like to give a shout out to our buddy Chris Waynick. Man, I think you're got to be fan of the week, fan of the month. You're kicking so much ass, buddy. We really appreciate you spreading the good gospel word of the Crack House Chronicles, and you're looking really good in your hoodie, man. We really appreciate everything you do, and I think we'll just give you a hey. How about that?
I love it.
Yeah, thank you guys, man. It really means a lot to us for you guys to be out there sharing and spreading the word, and that's how we get a little bit bigger and bringing more people into the fold. So we really appreciate you guys.
Yeah. So Chris gets another shout out, huh?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
He's earning them.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. He had to give us a shout out.
He's gonna earn some street cred.
Pretty much. And speaking of those Spotify rap gimmicks, I'll give you a few rundown on ours.
Yeah, lay that on me.
I said this year we created 1,976 minutes of new content. That's more than 94% of other creators in your category. That's pretty good, ain't it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's give you something else here. What do you think our number 1 episode was this year?
I don't know. I have no
I'll
idea.
give you 3. It was either Lisa Pruitt or Aisha Degree, The Discussion, or Kimberly Raymer.
I'd say Kimberly Raymer.
Ding, 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 and you would be right.
Yeah.
That was a really good episode for you.
Yeah, that was good.
Yes. Okay.
Shout out to Sue Raymer on that. That was really good.
This finger kicks butt.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you so much. We were heard in over 30 countries. Top 5 being U.S., United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, and Ireland.
Wow.
How about that?
Love it.
Pretty cool. And let's see. We had a couple other little things here, but I think you're in the top 10% of most followed podcasts, which would come in at 22% of whatever the hell that means. But anyway, our listeners have scored us a podcast of a 4.9. That's good.
Yeah.
That was our rating. But really, I think one of the best things that popped up this week on the Spotify things is that you and your fans have something very special.
Yeah.
And that's what is top for me, man. Our connection with you guys means the most to me.
It does.
Yeah, I don't really care about all the numbers. I mean,
No.
I do, but you know, you guys dig us and we dig you, so I guess we're all...
Yeah, people out there listening, people sharing, people telling us other people about us. That's what means the most.
Yeah,
and,
man.
And they're learning something, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah, when somebody just finds us for however they do, and then they let you know, like, dude, I've been going through them, I'm on episode whatever, and I'm like, holy moly, you just mowing through them. It's just crazy. Just blows my mind. So we really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it a lot.
All righty, man.
Who knew this podcast thing would turn out like it did? And
it's so much fun.
Oh, it is, man.
Meeting you guys, man, that's crazy.
I love it.
Yeah.
And we want to remind everybody to go to our social media pages and check out our Facebook, our fans of Crack House Chronicles, our regular Crack House Chronicles, and Instagram and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Talk to us, leave us some messages.
Check that out. Also, check out the store page. I mean, stuff goes on sale pretty regular if you want to grab you some stuff like Chris Waynick did. And always throw up a photo, man, if you got it, and or email it or send it to us, and we'll post it for you. We'll put it up, and because we're always proud to post you guys representing, man.
Yeah, we appreciate it a lot.
That's cool stuff.
If that is all,
I think your 2 minutes is up. Somebody's going to send a bitch an email.
we're 5 minutes in.
Well, let's get going. I don't want to get nobody yelling at us.
That's it. All right. Today, Dale, we have a North Carolina.
Oh, we're back home.
Back at home. And this will please a lot of local listeners to do a North Carolina case.
Yeah, we slide one in every now and again. We don't stay here all the time, but we do have a lot of local listeners that really enjoy North Carolina cases. So we like to do that when we can.
So we wanted to...
We'll find a real good, interesting one anyway.
Do a North Carolina case for you.
Let's do one.
All right. Now, today we are sort of all over the state, but we're going to end up in Raleigh. But we're going to start out this episode in Lenoir.
Right up the road here.
Yeah, it's not far, about an hour, maybe a little bit more than an hour.
Give or take.
Yeah.
It depends on how crooked the road is.
Yeah. But we're talking about a guy named Jamie Hahn.
Pretty cool name, huh?
Yeah, very cool. Jamie Hahn.
Never heard anybody with that
No,
name.
never have. But he was from Lenoir, and he grew up there, and he was a child to teenage parents. They lived there in Lenoir, and it was described they had a kind of a rough childhood. He lived with his parents, but something happened there, and he was eventually adopted by his aunt and uncle.
Sound like maybe he was just too young for that responsibility, maybe.
Could have been. And
Probably best for him.
Yeah, and his adoptive father was a butcher, and his grandmother, she owned some restaurants. And Nation would spend his summer vacations in the back of restaurants and in their family gardens. And this is where he developed an interest in food and nutrition.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. Nation had a friend that he had met at a church camp. And they also went to school together, and his name was Jonathan Broyhill.
Broyhill. You reckon he's furniture related?
Yeah, if they're in Lenoir, I bet that's from the furniture people.
Somebody, yeah.
I bet he's
somewhere down the road. Anyway.
I bet he's got ties to the furniture.
Yeah,
Broyhill.
somewhere in a tree.
Yeah, but they were pretty tight. I mean, they were described as really good friends, and they would hang out some. And you know how friends go; they would go their separate ways for a while, and then they would reconnect and do different things. So they were just pretty good friends.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. And the other person we're talking about in this episode is a female by the name of Jamie Kirk.
Right.
Yep. Now, Jamie, she was from Orangeburg, South Carolina. She was born on October the 25th of 1983. She attended Orangeburg Preparatory School. And while in high school as a junior, she made a trip to Chapel Hill, North Carolina for a visit and just fell in love with the place. And she ended up going to UNC Chapel Hill. Yeah, she just fell in love with it. And she graduated from UNC Chapel Hill in 2006 with a degree in political science.
She was into that stuff, wasn't she?
Yeah, very political. And she served on the board of the Hope Center at Pullen and was an active member of UNC's Young Alumni Association.
Right.
Now, Jamie, she started a career in politics.
So she wasn't messing around. She come out of school with that and just went and dove straight in, right?
Yes, she did. And she was a fundraiser for Congressman David Price in 2006. And during her work for John Edwards, he was doing his presidential campaign in 2008.
All right.
And she was doing fundraisers for him. So she was moving on.
So she jumped up quick.
Moving on up the ladder in politics, yeah.
Second things are doing a presidential campaign. It's pretty good.
Yep. And it was during this time that she met Jamie Hahn.
Right. I think he said, like, he came in one day and walked up and saw her. She was, like, facing the other way, or sitting at her computer, and walked up to say hello. And she jumped up and gave him a handshake and turned into, they talked a little while and had a hug, and then they kind of hit it off right off the bat, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's actually 2 years younger than her.
So he was probably, what was he, interning?
Yeah, he was an intern. Yeah. He was actually working for her.
Okay.
Yeah. And they hit it off pretty good, and they eventually started dating.
Yes.
Then after about 4 months, I think it was reported, they got engaged.
Wow.
Yeah.
They really like each other.
Yeah. And they were eventually married on April the 18th of 2009. Yeah. The next year. Now, Jamie, she started her own company, Dale.
It was a political fundraising consulting firm.
Yeah. And it was named Sky Blue Strategies.
I wonder where she got that name from.
I don't know. Maybe Carolina?
Yeah, that Carolina connection.
Yep. And it was a political fundraising consulting firm. And other candidates and causes for which she worked included Kenneth Lewis for U.S. Senate, Brad Miller for U.S. Congress, Kay Hagan for U.S. Senate, Jane Dyer for U.S. Congress. That was South Carolina.
Right.
And Bob Etheridge for governor of North Carolina. And she was also part of the Research Triangle Foundation and Protect All North Carolina Families programs. So she was very political, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's what her business was. So
yeah.
She must have been really good at fundraising, raising money for these stuff and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Probably had a lot of connections by now.
Yeah.
Plus a presidential candidate, or presidential campaign under your belt, that'll give you a little
clout.
Yes.
Street cred, yeah.
Street cred, man.
Yeah. That's right.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. But Nation wasn't too big into the politics, but after him and Jamie got married, he sort of leaned that way a little bit and got pretty active in it.
Yeah, I think he actually described them as political nerds.
Yeah.
They were political nerds. They love the
West Wing.
West Wing, yeah, that big. They were big West Wing fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all they did. They watched that stuff.
Loved it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jamie's business got so big that she offered Nation's buddy Jonathan Broyle a job.
Right. And he was hanging around a lot. They had come back together after being apart for a while, him and Nation, and so he was around a lot. So, of course, him being around and became just as good friend to Jamie as he was to Nation.
Mm-hmm.
So they were all pretty tight, the three of them. I think they did all kind of stuff together. He was at their house a lot, and they even went vacationing and go out and eat. Lots of stuff. They all did it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were, pretty tight folks.
Yeah. And Jamie was running her business out of her home at 1705 Tillwood Place, and this is in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonathan was working there too.
Yes.
And he was pretty much managing the financial part of it.
Yeah, the money guy.
Yeah, he had a degree in accounting, so it just sort of fell into that. And she had told him at the beginning that, she's not offering him that job to...
It ain't a mercy job.
No.
You really gonna have to put in the time here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need somebody.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna work.
Right. And it was perfect fit. He had the degree for what they needed, and he was always there. So why not?
Yeah. Exactly.
Somebody you can trust.
Yep. So that's what was happening. But everything's going good. Everybody's doing their own thing, and this is when Jonathan was complaining to Nation and Jamie that he was having some headaches.
Yeah. A lot of little health problems and stuff going on.
Yeah. And he came in one day looking really rough, and he told him that he had multiple sclerosis.
Being diagnosed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been diagnosed with it.
Right.
And this just floored Jamie and Nation. I mean, because they were pretty much family, because Jonathan was living there at their home pretty much all the time.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't living there, but he was there all the time.
Yeah.
He did. They let him stay over all the time, and I think the neighbors even, were saying him pretty much as a roommate, because he basically got his own parking spot because his car was there so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this floored Jamie and Nation.
Right.
And Jamie got to looking up ways to sort of slow it down, anything she could do. And Jonathan had told him that the MS, they could treat it pretty good since he was so young.
Right.
That's what they were telling him.
Yeah, and Nation said, that Jamie even, they did their Monday thing, he called it, and said, he would come over on the Mondays and they would just do whatever they do. Said him and Jamie would watch some particular shows like The Bachelor and this and that. He said a lot of stuff that Nation really wasn't interested in. He said they would watch it and I wouldn't.
Yeah.
He said I'd either be on my laptop doing some stuff, but it was always that and do that, and then she would start cooking particular ways, like you said. Anything she could look up that she thought would help him, she changed anything she was doing to help him.
Yeah.
So they're that kind of friends, She's going out of the way to do anything she could do to help him out.
Exactly.
Right.
And they were even taking him to doctor's visits and stuff.
Yeah, and then got him to start doing walking enough, because he was saying he was a little bit overweight and this kind of stuff. So she got him to walking and just anything she could do to help his health and the situation.
Yeah. It was somewhere along this point that Jonathan had came out to Nation and Jamie that he was gay.
Right.
Yeah. And I think this brought Jamie and Jonathan a little bit closer together, because Jamie was the type of person who was into equality for everyone.
Right.
Yeah, she was just that kind of person, and him coming out and telling him that just sort of, made him a little bit closer.
Right.
That's what had been described.
I think he had a lot of problems with that when he was younger, even saying that where he had basically cut ties with his parents and stuff because they were really religious folks, and they would, probably say he was I think the words he used were had been possessed by something that would cause this kind of stuff. So his mother, he said they never were really close, and then after this they just kind of cut ties, and he hadn't seen her in like 10 years or something. So,
yeah.
Because when people were asking her about him, she really couldn't tell them nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And said that that's probably why stuff like that happens, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Now, at one point Jonathan complained about having some pains, and he came back to Jamie and Nation and told him that he'd been to the doctor, and they said he had gallstones.
Had some gallstones. He's going to have to have some surgery.
Yeah, to take care of that.
He's having a lot of problems.
He is having some health problems, no doubt about it.
Right.
And he's a big guy. He's a little bit overweight from the pictures I've seen. So.
Well, self-described, he said that.
Yeah.
So we're not bashing nobody.
Yeah, he even said that. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's when where he's talking about coming out and being gay. He had a lot of emotional problems about that. And he's saying he's had a hard time finding anything lasting. In his mind, he thought he was ugly. He thought he was fat. He wasn't like a lot of people that he kind of liked were really tan and really fit guys and this kind of stuff. So that kind of stuff weighed on him.
Yeah.
And then he comes in now. He's got these health problems popping up. So I'm sure his mental state is not really good at this point.
Yeah.
And so he's got gallstones now. They're going to have to go do some surgeries to get that fixed.
Yeah. So they take him to get some tests done on that.
Right.
They take him to the hospital, and they get in there, and they can't go back with him.
Right.
And he goes on back, and they sit out there in the waiting room for about 2 hours waiting on him. And then he finally comes out, and they've set up his surgery and scheduled it and everything.
Right.
So they pretty much go back to what they were doing. And
remember, all this time now, they're taking with him to go to his appointments and all this stuff. So they're really staying tight with him. Anything they need to do, if he wants them to go with him, he's there. They're like, we're right here with you. Support.
Whatever you need, Jonathan.
Yeah.
We will be there for you.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So not long after he gets his surgery done, he comes back in.
Yeah, and after he has his surgery, he's staying there with the Hahns in their home.
Yes, she's taking care of him.
Yeah, laid up in the bed, taking care of, nursing him.
Right.
Yeah. And it wasn't too long after that he come in, and they had found a mass.
Yeah, while taking out the stones.
Yeah, and they told him that he had pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, at least they thought that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what they did. Yeah. They told him, at least that's what they thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, like Dale said.
So they were devastated.
Yes.
Because that ain't nothing to play with.
No, it ain't, because I think the survival rate on that is very, very low.
Yeah, I've lost a couple people to that.
Yeah. Not good at all.
Not good.
So this threw him for a blow. And this point, Jamie and Nation, they were laying in bed one night, and I was like, gosh, they hadn't even thought about having kids. They had thought about adopting and stuff,
Right. He had tons of cats and dogs, and that was Jamie's thing, puppies. She didn't like anything better than puppies, except for older dogs that nobody wanted and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, I think they had talked about it here and there, but nothing ever serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jamie was pretty torn up, and she told Nation that she wanted a kid.
Yeah. Said, pretty much while talking to Jonathan, said she was super strong and everything, and he thought, wow, she's just one strong lady. He said when they went up there and went to bed, she rolled over and she was just letting it roll.
Yeah.
When she finally got behind doors, and then that's when they talked about, I said, well, maybe we need to have some kids, because you see time is fleeting, and nobody waiting on nobody. And I want all our friends to love our kids.
Yeah, and be a part of our kids.
Right, because they were the kind of folks that their house was always open to all their friends. Anything they did, like if they went somewhere, they always invited a big group to go with them.
Yeah, on vacation, everything.
Yeah, everything.
Everything they did.
Right.
Yeah, and Jonathan was right there in the mix of it.
Oh, yeah, always.
Yeah, so they were doing everything they could for Jonathan to try to get him through this time.
Right.
Yeah. Now, it was during this time, too, Jonathan, he was still working for Jamie, and she'd cut back his hours a little bit to fill in for his doctor's appointments and everything he needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it come to the attention of Jamie that there were some funds missing from one of their accounts.
Right, needed him to check him over.
Yeah, something about the funds, because she was doing fundraisers for Brad Miller, and the funds weren't matching up with what they had in their account.
Well, then I think Brad decided he wasn't going to run for re-election.
Yeah, exactly.
So then that means they was going to have to go back through the books and start issuing out refunds to donors.
Yes.
And go through all that stuff. And then they had a couple of deadlines of stuff. And I believe by this time she had let Jonathan go.
Yeah.
As far as being a actual employee, though, I mean, he wasn't leaving or nothing because he was always there, and he agreed. I mean, it wasn't like you're fired, get out of here, but he agreed. Since Brad was one of their biggest customers, I guess. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Biggest or
accounts they had.
Yeah, there you go. Account. That's all I'm looking for. Their biggest account, and she would be losing a pretty hunk of money coming in, so they had to do something. And she even told Jonathan that she would help him find another job. But he agreed to stay on and help her get through all this and make sure everything was done and all her reports that had to be turned into the what was it, FD?
Yeah, the Federal Election Commissions.
Yes,
the FEC.
All that stuff was done on time and done correct.
Yes. So they were going to have to sit down with the books at some point and figure out where the money was.
Yeah,
and
what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, about this time is when he was going to have to go back and do another procedure to actually find out if indeed he did have pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
And the date on this thing was going to put it right in the middle when they were getting ready to go to the beach. They were going to go to the beach for a week to celebrate their 4th wedding anniversary, and it was also going to be Nation's birthday. And they had asked him to maybe put the appointment off to see if they can move it till April 15th.
Mm-hmm.
That would give them the time that they get back from the beach, and then they could all go together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he went and he called to reschedule, and then that's what they did.
Yeah.
Before they all go to the beach now, they had a meeting with some other folks from the Brad Miller Society, right?
Yes, they did.
It was a lawyer who was the treasurer.
The Miller campaign treasurer, his name was John Wallace, and he sent a letter for more information about the documents that appeared to show that donors receiving funds from campaigns in excess of what they paid.
Right.
Yeah.
And something else about there were some loans, I think, that Brad Miller had taken out of his funds himself, but all that was supposed to have been repaid. But as far as he knew, but it was still showing they were not repaid.
Yeah.
But I think they were, but showing not.
Yeah, it showed a combined refunds of $15,900 in refunds, and they didn't know if the donors had actually received them or not.
Right.
So that money was disappearing. And
yeah, something's going on here.
Yeah, and actually they had actually suspected Jonathan of embezzling the money at this point. So that's when after they got back from the beach, that they were going to have to sit down and figure this out, Dale.
Right. Now, before they went to the beach, they did go have a meeting with John Wallace, and they went over a bunch of stuff that he had, and everything looked good from what he could tell. It looked like there was like $65,000 or something in this account. So for the time being, everything was good. Now, when it got time for them to go to the beach, they had just got on the road, and they got a phone call from Brad Miller.
Yeah.
He had wrote a check out of that fund, and it bounced.
Yeah, it was $600 to Time Warner Cable or Spectrum.
Right.
It was a Spectrum account.
And so he's like, Jamie's just bumfuzzled. She don't know what the hell's going on. She's like,
Yeah.
we just checked this, and there's $60,000 in there. I mean, why can't you write a check? So he just told her we'd check into it, and then that's when she had also seen an email had been sent to her and to Jonathan, and Jonathan had to reply and said, we're working on it, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Yeah. All right, now, Dale, we're going to move up to April the 22nd of 2013.
Okay.
Now, this day is a Monday, and Nation had got off work just a little bit early. He got home just a few minutes before 5 o'clock.
Now, this is right after they get back from the beach, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, they're supposed to be having a meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Jonathan's there for a meeting with Jamie to go over the books and try to figure out what's going on with the funds.
Yeah, because they got to get this thing turned in for the deadline.
Yes. And Nation goes in, and he sees Jamie on the phone there in her office. You know, she's got the door shut. They got like a double French doors.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got them shut because I think he got some animals they're trying to
keep the puppies out of the office.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And Jonathan is in there, and he goes in and puts his arm around Jonathan and says, hey, bud, how you doing? And Nation goes upstairs to get out of his work clothes.
Right, yeah. Jonathan just cruising, just coming out of the kitchen. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Get a hug. Everything's cool.
Nation goes upstairs.
And, he even asked him, asked him if he was going to spend the night because his appointment was the next morning.
Yeah.
And, he's right here. He said, we'll go. And then he said, I'll have to stay in Durham, for business afterwards.
They're going to drive separate.
Yeah, so me and Jamie will drive separate, and either you can ride back with her or you can ride back with your parents because his parents were supposed to be meeting him there.
Yeah.
So that was what the deal was with that. And he goes, yeah, I ain't sure yet if I'm going to stay or not, but I did bring my bag with me just in case. So everything's cool. Then Nathan went upstairs.
Yeah, he went upstairs and changed out of his work clothes, put on some gym shorts, and went to use the bathroom, and he was just taking care of business up there. And it was when he heard Jamie scream out.
Right. Yeah, he'd went up there like every day to do his regular deal. He said went up there and changed clothes. He usually goes for a run and goes to the gym, hits the bathroom and goes. And he said he had just got in there and changed clothes, like he said, and went into the restroom and then heard a big scream.
Yeah.
Didn't know what the hell was going on.
He hollered out from the bathroom like, "What?"
Yeah.
And she screamed again. She screamed Jonathan, then she screamed his name again, Nation, back and forth a couple times. And
so this time he just jumps up and takes off down the steps.
Yeah, and he gets down the steps and
knows what the hell's going on.
Goes around the corner, and this is when he sees Jamie laying on the floor.
Yeah, you could just see her legs and her midsection from on the stairs.
Yeah, from his angle there.
But he did say, it wasn't good.
And Jonathan was standing over her with a knife.
Yeah, 8-inch kitchen knife.
Yeah, and this particular kitchen knife was
chef's knife.
Yeah, and he bought it at Harris Teeter.
Oh,
Oneida kitchen knife.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and he was standing over her with that knife.
Yeah, and Nation screams out, and I quote, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so she screams, "He's killing me! He's killing me!"
So Nation gets over there. He tries to get in between him and Jamie.
Well, once she come down there, Jamie's laying on the floor covered in blood.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan turns his attention to Nathan and comes at him with the knife up.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's trying to do something, so goes at him. He said actually he just throwed up one hand and all he could think of was to grab the blade. And when he grabbed the blade with one hand, was punching him or face palming him in the face with his other hand.
Yeah.
And then screamed at Jamie to get out of the house.
Get up and get out of the house, yeah.
So what he was doing is just trying to buy her some time. And he said he didn't even realize his hands were getting cut all to hell. But
he didn't know it.
Yeah. I'm sure,
I guess adrenaline's setting in.
Oh, yeah, strong. And a lot of people we've heard, said, maybe you should have had a gun or something you can do it. But it wouldn't do you no good.
No.
Because, if you're in your basketball shorts and you just run down the steps, you're not expecting this.
You got a friend over at the house.
Yeah, he even said, he didn't know. He said maybe he thought it was a snake in the house, or maybe he even crossed his mind that maybe Jonathan had passed out,
from all
his illnesses and
stuff.
But yeah, definitely running right into this.
Yeah. So at some point he managed to separate himself from Jonathan.
Yeah.
And Jamie had got up out of the house at this point. She was out of the house.
Right.
And Nation was able to get out of the house.
Yeah, I think after he grabbed him, trying to get the blade from him, wrestled around a little bit, and when he's punching him in the face, and he got a little bit of separation. And when he did, instead of just continuing to fight, he ran out the door as well.
Yeah.
To go check on her.
And the neighbors had Jamie out there in the yard, in their yard. And they'd already called 911, had an ambulance on the way.
Yeah, and the cops.
And he was there on the ground trying to comfort Jamie, and they were trying to figure out what had happened.
Yeah, what the hell happened?
Yeah, and telling each other they loved each other. They're going to figure out what happened, and they would go back to the beach when all this was over with, and just back and forth.
Yeah, many more anniversaries.
Yes. And that's when the ambulance got there, and they got Jamie in the ambulance, and they put Nation in another ambulance.
Right. Yeah, because both of his hands were severely lacerated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Nation reported that while he was in the ambulance, he had heard on a radio some information about Jamie.
Yeah, walkie-talkie came.
Yeah. And he had asked about my wife, and they just turned the radio off.
Yeah. So he knew then something wasn't good.
Because at this point, Jamie was in pretty rough shape. She had been stabbed
24 times.
Yes.
Yeah. All about the hands and the midsection and in the neck. So I don't know. It's just all over. It's just crazy to even think about.
I can't even imagine Nation seeing all this, man.
No, you come down and, not to mention he was the best man in their wedding.
Yeah.
We didn't even mention that. So they're just super tight folks, and then all of a sudden he just does this shit.
Yeah. Exactly. So they get him to the hospital, and they get Jamie into surgery. Because, she was bleeding out pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they were going to have to do surgery on Nation, but he refused to have surgery right away.
Yeah, he didn't want to be under anesthesia, in case something happened.
Exactly. And the police, they went into the house, and they had discovered Jonathan had stabbed himself and cut himself with a knife.
Yeah, like he'd try to kill himself.
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
Stabbed himself in the gut and in the wrist and everything.
Yeah. But he didn't put up any fight. He went right with them.
Yeah, they put him in an ambulance and took him to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when they got to investigating Dale, and that's when they realized that Jonathan had been embezzling money from the Brad Miller account.
Yeah, I think he wrote himself, it was 40-something checks for $40-something thousand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 40 checks, and it equaled up to $46,000, something like that.
Yeah. So he was embezzling money.
So this whole time he was taking their money.
Yeah.
He didn't even know it.
Yeah, and he was there that day to try to figure this stuff out.
You know, and a lot of times Jamie did notice stuff was going weird, but she just didn't want to believe that he was doing it.
Yeah.
So I think she had a feeling, but she just didn't want to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially him going through all this illnesses and stuff. She just thought maybe at first she was just trying to put it off. Well, maybe he's just making mistakes because he's got so much on him right now.
Yeah. But now, 2 days later, Jamie Hahn passed away, Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't make it.
She didn't make it.
No, her injuries were too severe. And it was 2 years later, finally 2 years later, they went to trial on this for the murder of Jamie Hahn. They took Jonathan Broyhill to trial, and prosecutors introduced evidence that they planned to argue that Broyhill lashed out with a butcher knife at the Hahns, waiting for an opportunity to cover up his financial crimes. And there's evidence that showed that he had booked a train trip to Charlotte for that day, then changed the reservation for the next day after missing the train.
Right. Well, before that, they said that he had actually taken Nation's credit card and bought a airplane ticket from Charlotte to Las Vegas.
Yes.
And then right before it was supposed to take off, about an hour, he canceled that and then bought the train tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then later he said that, it was all his intention, that he was so distraught and depressed that he was going to fly to Vegas and kill himself.
Yeah. But just a little bit of background on Jonathan Broyhill. He declared bankruptcy just a few months before the stabbing, and he was drawing unemployment benefits that would barely cover his $300 monthly car payments, and he was racking up bills at coffee shops and restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he was pretty much in financial straits, no doubt about it.
All right. Well, when she had let him go and told him to help him get another job, as potentially he had said that he had got a job at LabCorp,
Mm-hmm.
and he was working there, and then he came in and told her that he had got fired at LabCorp because there's a lot of times that they tried to get him to come and meet on this stuff and try to figure out what the hell was going on before this deadline come up. And he kept blowing them off, and then he said, he called him from the beach. He said, "I'm sorry, I just got so much on me, blah, blah, blah. I just got fired from my job, because I got cancer."
Yeah.
And which, but then later come out that he didn't have a job there at all. He
No.
wasn't even working.
Mm-mm.
So he's just basically full of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, it is.
Yep. And it did turn out that Jonathan Broyhill was convicted of first-degree murder, Dale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he would serve life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Yeah, and then a whole lot of other stuff.
Yeah, attempted murder on Nation, Hahn, and embezzlement, and several other things.
Right, so you got sentences on top of sentences on top
Yeah.
of sentences.
To run concurrently. So,
Right.
yeah.
And before you start feeling too bad about him, there's a lot of stuff you don't know.
Well, let me tell you this right here. Now, during the trial, at the end of the trial, during the impact statement, Nation was on the stand giving his impact statement, Dale.
Okay.
Victim impact statement. And we've got a part of that right here.
We lock our doors at night to keep the outside world, to keep evil out, right? But what happens when evil has a key? I would give anything to hold her in my arms, to see her make this, what I refer to as a frog face when she was getting ready to kiss me. To kiss her, to hold her, to tell her I love her again, but I can't. But I hope that everyone will do what I try to do every day, which is take some of her with us. Some of her essential goodness. Some of her love for others, her care, her concern, her compassion. Because we never really die as long as there are people who love us, who carry our example forward. And all of us who knew Jamie know that spirit will carry forward with all of us. John, you killed her. You tried to kill me. But you can't kill her spirit. You can't kill what it was that made her so special. You can't cut her spirit out with that knife. And you couldn't stop her love for you if you tried. Thank you.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up right there.
It sure does, man.
Yeah. You just don't know people.
You don't know.
And just tell everybody just a little bit more that you don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Not only was he stealing from them.
Yeah. This whole time, he was lying about all of his illnesses.
Everything. He didn't have MS.
No.
He didn't have no surgery for gallstones. And he never had cancer.
Nothing.
It was all made up bullshit.
A lie.
They would take him to the hospital. He would tell them that they couldn't go back. So they would sit in the waiting room for 2 hours while he walked through the doors and just walked around the hospital.
Wandered the hospital, yeah.
Yeah, go room to room, floor to floor, walk through and go, whew, well, I got him fooled for now.
Yeah.
But he knew time was running out. But then he would come back out and act like everything's good, and they would go on to do what they're going to do.
Yeah. And they
so
let
he
this
was
man
suckering them the whole time.
And fake gallbladder surgery and lay in their house.
Yeah.
Like he just had surgery.
Yeah. And they feel sorry for him, take him to the beach, do all that stuff. I guess that's how he's driving his little fancy Volvo.
I guess.
They was paying for it out of that. He's paying for everything out of that company, out of that account.
Yeah. But he was faking it the whole time.
Right. So that's why he never would answer nothing. And then come to find out that account didn't have $65,000 in it. It was about $5,000 overdrawn.
Yes.
So that's why their checks kept bouncing, and they couldn't figure out why. So the man who was doing the thing was writing himself checks.
Yeah. But now the defense, for him during the trial, they claimed that he went there with a knife, that he was going to kill himself.
I don't buy that, man.
No.
And like we talked about this a little bit earlier. It's like, do you think, because it said that Nation had got home early, right?
Yes.
So do you think he, if he wouldn't have got home, was he planning on killing her before he got home?
It's very possible. And he just seen Nation come in, and it was like
like he panicked.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, well, hell, why didn't he just wait for Nation to go for his run and then do it?
Yeah. He could have.
And, unless he was planning on killing them both.
Yeah.
And maybe that was his plan, to kill her, then kill him. I don't know. But that don't help him a bit to me. Is killing his best friends, how does that help him anyway in the big picture? They're going to find out what's going on. They're going to know who did it. So, I don't know. I just don't understand his thinking. I'm sure, he must have been pretty whacked out on, as far as just stressed out, didn't know what to do, and was scared and lost and stealing everybody's money and didn't know what he was going to do. But
yeah,
that definitely wasn't going to help him.
I know. I don't get it, man. He was just a liar all the way around.
Yeah, pretty damn sad.
Best man in their wedding, and pull this off.
Crazy.
For years.
Yeah. And it said, I was reading a quote right here where it said, her family had released, on the statement, said, we lost a beautiful and loving wife, daughter, and friend.
Mm-hmm.
We all lost a pure and brave spirit. She had a gift for bringing us together, black and white, young and old, gay and straight. She challenged us to work together for a better world.
Yeah.
Gone.
But Jamie was a rising star in politics, and she was an idealist who lived her beliefs. She was dedicated her life and her labor to the goal of human dignity for all, rich and poor, black, white, young and old, gay and straight.
Yeah.
She saw public service as a way to achieve that goal, and she was taken from us too early. She touched uncounted numbers of people whose expressions of love and support has sustained her family in their difficult time, and Jamie and Nation made life and politics fun.
Right.
But Jamie was laid to rest on Monday, April 29th, 2013.
A lot of times they say, you find your soulmate or whatever, and everybody's like, well, maybe you got one person for you, maybe not, whatever the deal is. But they were an ideal couple.
They were. They were just a fun couple.
Yeah, they were so good. Everybody they didn't do, they didn't want nothing but to have everybody together, and and everybody get along and just have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
That was what they were all about.
But Nation, her husband, he did survive his hand injuries.
Yes. Even though he did have some permanent damage in some of the ligaments and the nerves in his fingers.
Yeah. But today, Nation is the Chief Growth Officer for EdNC, and he also serves his community through the Jamie Kirk Hahn Foundation, named after his wife, Jamie.
Right.
And he is also on another bunch of boards, roles focused on food-related issues, poverty, and education.
So he's still going, but man, how do you do it?
I don't know.
That's just awful.
Yeah, I've listened to several interviews with this guy, and he's just a great guy.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd like to hang out with him sometime.
Right.
Yeah. Too young, man. Too young.
Yeah, man.
29 years old.
Just young folks.
Yeah.
Hadn't even really got started.
No.
And doing so much good for the community, and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And this guy just smut route.
But Jonathan Broyhill is not getting out of prison.
No.
But that is a North Carolina case we wanted to cover for you guys too.
That was really interesting and sad.
It is very interesting. All right, Dale, we're going to get out of here, dude.
All right, man.
We want everyone to be safe. Please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is the Crack House Chronicles.